Well, good morning and welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. We also appreciate everyone who's joining us via Facebook Live. Today, we launched our Safe and Sound Facebook page to make it even easier for folks to connect and watch our progress. I want to thank all the residents, businesses, visitors to Ellicott City for your continued engagement and support. All of the hardworking employees of Howard County government and all of our nonprofit partners who have been helping our efforts to get us to today. We still believe in Ellicott City, and we still believe that it is one of Howard County's most important cultural and economic resources. Its safety and security are critical to our county's future prosperity. In finding bold, workable, community-engaged, innovative, common-sense solutions for Ellicott City has been an immediate priority. And by building the infrastructure necessary to improve public safety, we will create a future for Ellicott City that gives businesses a reason to invest, maintains the cultural value of Main Street, makes us a model of resilience, and helps to protect our town from a changing climate. Within 3 weeks of taking office, I announced the first phase of my Ellicott City Safe and Sound plan, built around the need for public safety, supporting businesses and property owners, preparing our county for a changing climate, and creating a more inclusive process for decisions regarding the future of Ellicott City. This phase included enhanced stream cleaning, which has already cleared several tons of debris from our waterways. It also included a new emergency alert system, the Community Development Corporation Exploration Committee, and a grant program that so far has already given over $150,000 to property owners for flood mitigation projects. Last month, we announced Phase 2 of Safe and Sound. This phase includes signs to guide people to higher ground during an emergency, our capital projects tracker, an online tool to allow individuals to follow the progress of each and every flood mitigation project, and an announcement that the Ellicott City Master Plan process will be resuming June 1st to make sure that the history of Ellicott City is preserved while its economic vitality and smart growth potential is expanded. And finally, we presented our 5 best options for flood mitigation. When choosing a plan, I wanted to know if there were any options available that prioritized public safety and allowed us to save at least some of the 10 buildings previously slated for demolition. I wanted to keep more water off of Lower Main Street and away from the West End, and I wanted to do it as soon as possible. The previous flood mitigation plan for Ellicott City was built on a premise of what can be accomplished in 5 years. And while urgency is important, it's also important to have a plan that helps Ellicott City be safe and thriving for the next 255 years. In order to achieve full transparency, we presented you with our 5 best options for flood mitigation. And each option represented a comprehensive collection of flood mitigation projects that result in less water on Main Street than the previous plan and continued to put public safety above all else. We wrote a report comparing all of these options and made all of the information available on our EC Safe and Sound website. And we solicited public feedback via email, our website, and at a public meeting earlier this month. During this meeting, we brought experts from across county government to answer your questions, and most importantly, we listened. We heard your thoughts and concerns, and we read your emails and comments through our website, and we heard many varying viewpoints and opinions, but certain themes were consistent. Urgency, public safety, and a plan that is not just a Band-Aid, but a real solution. One individual who wrote in through the website said, "I keep hearing county leaders, past and present, talk about bold leaderships and bold moves. Be bold." And I couldn't agree more. After reviewing your feedback as well as the expert opinions of our engineers, I've made my final decision. And I'm proud to announce that we will be moving forward with option 3G70 to mitigate flooding in Ellicott City. This is the best plan available to move with a sense of urgency, prioritize public safety, and be the model of resilience. This plan includes a range of key projects, including a north tunnel that will decrease flood depths. As pointed out by another person who commented through our website, the non-tunnel options do not sufficiently reduce water levels and should not be considered as anything more than a very expensive Band-Aid that will not come close to protecting the people and businesses of Main Street. During a 100-year storm, the previous plan left 4.5 feet of water on Lower Main. Our plan will decrease that to less than a foot. Individual projects are going to be completed starting in 2020 with the goal of completing our entire plan within 5 years. And that's an ambitious best case scenario, and it won't happen unless we bring all parties together and we get to work with everyone's support. Within the next year, we will begin construction on the Quaker Mill mitigation pond, design the Maryland Avenue culverts, acquire West End properties, finish the design of the Emory and Church Street drainage improvements, put out an RFP for the North Tunnel, and much more. Our plan calls for the demolition of 4 buildings: the Phoenix Emporium, Discoveries, Bean Hollow, and Great Plains Art Glass Studio. Once the county acquires all of these buildings, we will start the Section 106 process with the goal of salvaging as much of the building's historic character as possible. We're having a national team of experts compiled by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers conduct an independent review of our plan, and we will maintain flexibility as we continue to learn and innovate, and always ready to adapt and follow whatever plan and path is best for our future. We know our plan costs more. This is because we're doing a better job of addressing the problem. And frankly, our plan costs less than rebuilding repeated times after storms. When it comes to our strategy moving forward, we will no longer rent a temporary solution. We will buy a permanent one. We will do this right, so we will not have to do this again and again. We're going to take on this multi-year plan step by step and continue to work with our state, federal, and private sector partners to make it happen. And I just want to take another moment to thank our partners for being here today and all of the work that they've been doing in Annapolis and in D.C. And we will invest in this plan like all government spending, 1 year at a time, one step at a time, together. And we will do so largely with capital funding. The time for Band-Aid fixes is over, and this is a long-term solution. Ellicott City is a town that has endured repeated flooding since it was founded almost 250 years ago. It is flooded from the top down and from the bottom up. And I inherited a plan that mitigated some of the effects of the top-down flooding, but in my opinion didn't do enough. And I wanted to make it better. And I wanted to make sure we did a better job of protecting all of Ellicott City, because this town is bigger than just Lower Main Street. And my decision today affirms my commitment to Ellicott City by investing more money and implementing broader measures to ensure our town is even safer and even more resilient and even more capable of withstanding future weather events that we know will come. The previous plan called for more buildings to be knocked down and left more water on Main Street. Our plan is ambitious, but it's achievable and it's realistic. It is the plan to make Ellicott City safe and sound. And as we approach the one-year anniversary of the 2018 flood, it's time to come together as one community. And with this plan, we are making a statement. This is how we do things in Howard County. We don't run from our problems and we don't leave our neighbors behind. We work to heal and find solutions, and we stick to our values. When I hear from Ellicott City residents, one recurring thing that I see is the word community with unity capitalized. It's going to take all of us working together as a united Howard County to make this thing work. And starting to get today, we are putting the unity back in our community. We're leaving behind the fear and uncertainty of the past, and we're moving toward a brighter future for everyone who loves Ellicott City. Thank you.
Marker, Jim. All right, we're going to open it up to some questions from the media. If Mr. DeLuca and Jim Irvin from DPW would like to come to the front so we can have them available for any more technical engineering questions available here. So, Abby, you want to start?
What's the timeline on the building removal, and do you plan on working with those business owners should they want to relocate elsewhere on Main Street?
So we're still working through the acquisition process, and the building removal will be as soon as possible. We also, especially for the historic structures, have to go through the 106 process, and we will work with everyone in Ellicott City to address this plan and move forward collaboratively.
You mentioned an RFP for the tunnel. Can you explain what that is? Or
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Mark?
Sure.
You can start off.
So the RFP for the tunnel, well, I think the first thing that needs, our ideas for the tunnel are that it would be a design-build project. So we want to create an RFP that will blend the design and construction of the tunnels together. Plus, there are other considerations that we would like to see: the aesthetic value of the opening, where it first starts, and how it terminates on the other side of the track. So, and there might be some other items that we could put in there that will be sensitive to historic Ellicott City that we want to make sure the designers follow. So we'll do it as a request for proposal.
Okay, and then one more question about Kaplan's, because I know they went to the Historic Preservation Commission and all that. Has the county awarded itself a permit to tear down? And has that started the Section 106 process?
So I don't know the status of Kaplan's, and see if Jim knows.
We're working on getting the part over the river removed.
Right.
So that part is going through the review process here, so we're just pretty close to having that approved.
From the county's?
Yeah, from the county
And
standpoint.
then you would have to go to Section 106?
We're going to make sure that we can do that, depending on if it's an emergency or not. We're still working through that.
Okay.
Can you speak up? When you speak
Sure.
up, we can't hear you.
And could you repeat the question?
The question is the status of the Kaplan's demolition over the stream, and the county's been working with Historic District Commission to get approval for that, and also any state and federal reviews of that. We're pretty close to having that in hand so that we can proceed with the demolition of the part that is a hazard.
I have a question. Of the 9 buildings that have been earmarked either to be totally demolished or have the rear additions demolished and historical components salvaged, how many of those 9 has the county actually obtained ownership of? And if it's not all 9, how can you say we're going to go forward with this plan if you don't have ownership of all the properties?
This, we've attained ownership of 7. And the same way when we took office, we had ownership of 0, and there was a plan to demolish 10. We will move quickly and efficiently and continue those negotiations.
And may I follow up? There's, I've been asked often from people in the community, the 5 that will just have the rear additions demolished and perhaps some of it will be saved. They keep asking me, oh, so are stores going to go in here? Will there be apartments in here? And from what I can understand from all of your literature is that no, they're not going to be inhabitable or usable in that way. So can you explain, will they be kind of shells of buildings with historic elements on the outside? Can you just kind of explain the difference between a usable, inhabitable building and one that's being saved for the, I guess, historic facade?
Sure. I'm Zach Hollenbeck with the Department of Public Works Bureau of Facilities. So at this time, the county is going to retain ownership of all those buildings until all of the mitigation work is complete. The buildings themselves on the first floor, they will still maintain a usable square footage. So they may be a 20 or 25-foot deep section along the street that could be used as a storefront and provide vertical circulation to the upper floors. But as the plan progresses, we'll continue to develop what they'll be long term.
And what is that? Can you just put that in regular people terms?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so if you sure understood. So if you looked at the first floor spaces that remain after all the work's done, they would be something that a small storefront or shop could move into and have, you know, small retail use. And then the upper floors for the portions that remain, they will have a similar footprint, but they could be used again for a small retail or something like that along those lines. But I think the final use will still be developed.
Even the Kaplan's, which is on that?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
But just to clarify, would the people have to purchase those buildings? And that would not be able to happen until after the plan is complete, is that correct?
The county is going to maintain ownership until all the flood mitigation is completed. Whether we lease out those spaces on a short-term basis remains to be seen. But ultimately, our goal would be to get them back into use by the public for the commercial retail in the area. But that can't happen until we feel it's safe to do that on a permanent basis.
When would you feel that it's safe? Is that to be determined, or is that after the
It's
plan?
based on the completion of the plan.
Okay.
Abby?
Can you talk about your plan to fund this choice?
So just like any project, it's going to be year by year. Since I've been in office, we've already worked with our state and federal partners to identify $8 million additional dollars, and we'll continue doing that. We're going to look at innovative funding models. There are going to be some things where we'll be able to have multi-year deals, but we're going to do what needs to be done within the fiscal constraints, just like every other project, every other plan, every other vision.
Is the tunnel the most expensive part of this, or can you walk me through like the breakdown in price kind of?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why we're going out to RFP. There are innovative experts all around the world, and so we want to tap into those ideas. And as we continue having this community iterative conversation, we're going to have the Army Corps of Engineers looking at our plans, and we will continue to innovate, and we'll tap into the best practices and the best technology.
I have a question for Mark DeLuca, who's hiding behind the. Can you explain what? I know I've asked you to explain this before, but what will the North Tunnel accomplish, and why this is the right solution for this area?
So the North Tunnel is actually in the portion of the watershed where the Hudson runs, and the Hudson can carry. You know, during non-rainy times, it's a trickle of a stream, and but during certain rainstorms, it turns into a raging river and causes a lot of flooding on the street, through the buildings. So what the North Tunnel does is it's in alignment with the Hudson, and it takes all of the overflow, that difference between the maximum storm total that we're experiencing and what that base flow is, that trickle. And it takes it, puts it in the tunnel. So it protects, for example, anyone that's walked through Main Street, and those people that have shops there, they know that the Hudson meanders under buildings, under the road, pops out again here and there, and almost presents no solution for mitigation without really changing the complexion of Main Street and really ripping it up. The tunnel provides a way to carry all that overflow without being as destructive and the impactfulness of construction. It'll be much less for Lower Main and other parts of Main Street. So the tunnel really accomplishes several things. Less impactful and carries the floodwater more easily.
Thank you.
You say ripping up Main Street, does that mean the street will again have to be closed? What's the impact on the existing buildings and businesses and residents who live there while the tunnel is being constructed?
So I think right now that's one of the benefits of the tunnel, is that it can happen while Main Street just continues on. And it runs parallel to Main Street, but never crosses Main Street. So the construction of it, and also the tunnel is fairly deep. So this happens underground and away from most of the businesses. It doesn't mean that there won't be a staging area. Lot F could be a staging area. It doesn't mean that there won't be truck traffic, but it won't be in the way of Main Street. So in that way, it's, right now it seems as though it would be less impactful.
Executive Ball or Mark, a lot of the conversation has been focused on the empty buildings downtown. There's another area that seemed to be forgotten. It's from after the wine bin to the brewery. You might remember the most photographed part of the 2018 flood where 4 cars and a dumpster were caught in that small culvert there. So in your charts, on all your charts, even after all the mitigation on all the options, that area remained in I call it the purple solution, 8 to 12 feet of water. What are you doing about this area? This is one of the biggest choke point in Ellicott City, and it seems
Right.
to have been neglected in all this.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily characterize it as being neglected. This is the area where the North Tunnel will be. So depending on exactly where the opening is, it would take into consideration that whole area of Main Street that you're talking about. So that's where that would be the start of where this tunnel is. It would catch most of all the Hudson overflow at that point. And so I think that just by nature of it being there is going to help those buildings on those 2 blocks, near the brewery and across the street on Court Avenue. It provides the solution that we're looking for.
In the charts that you gave us, with the tunnel there, this area still remains in the purple.
Yeah,
So,
right. And I guess really without getting too far down into the weeds, you'd have to look at, I think you're referring to the depth chart of the water. And so we have to look at that together, and I could explain it a little bit better, but it does mitigate that area.
in 2011, it was only a 50-year flood, where most of Ellicott City businesses were not touched.
Right.
That area was destroyed.
Yeah.
This is a really main area for property owners like me, business owners. We need to address that.
Yes.
All right, last question from the media. Okay, sir, do you want to say anything?
There's a question.
Oh, Bruce,
I'm
sorry.
sorry if this has been covered, but going back to the real people language, can you sort of highlight what the main components of 3G70 are structurally?
Do you want to try to
Sure.
go through them and charts right?
Well, from an engineering perspective,
What is, I mean, what is?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So it is on the chart, but I will say that I think that the main item, everything in the chart, I think it's important to say that there are no silver bullets to flooding on Main Street. No one single project is going to mitigate all the floodwater all by itself. Okay, that would be an oversimplification of what we tried to do. It's a very comprehensive approach. All the projects are necessary to get the end result. So that's a takeaway that needs to be understood. I think that what this option represents is it takes the most water, it lowers water on Main Street, and it preserves the buildings and most effectively out of all the options for the cost. And so when it's evaluated based on that criteria, it really is a strong option.
Yeah, just again, I recognize that there are a lot of still open questions, and there are going to be as we move forward in this project. But let me remind you, if we could address these issues cheaply and easily over the last 250 years, it would have been done. We're going to have to work together. We're going to continue learning and evolving. And we're going to invest in the future of our town so that we will be that model of resiliency. You know, as we're seeing with the changing climate, the more intense and frequent storms, we're seeing flooding issues all around the world. The world is watching us. The world is watching how we address this issue and how we come together as a town to write the next chapter in that great story that's Ellicott City and that great story that's Howard County. I am confident that this is the plan, this is the town, and this is our moment. Thank you.